Hey everyone. All right, so I'm here with, I want to say, a good friend now that I recently met with, Gervon out of Compass. I brought him on today. There's a lot of, I want to say, unique things that I like about Gervon when it comes to how he operates his business. You're with Compass. You're a branch manager at Compass, or
no? I'm a team leader.
You're a team leader at Compass.
Team.
Okay. So how many realtors do you have with you right now?
Technically speaking, 4 on our team.
Realtors.
Yeah, including myself. Okay. So 5, all of us together.
Perfect. Yeah. So why don't you let my audience know, and then let me know too, when did you get into the business and how did you arrive at Compass?
Yeah, so I started in real estate in 2018. I became licensed. I was actually stationed at JBLM in the Army, and I was a platoon leader. I had 28 soldiers that I was responsible for, that I led in my platoon, and I had spent the previous 2 years, over 2 years, studying almost obsessively with real estate, trying to learn as much about it as I possibly could. Reading books, watching YouTube, listening to Bigger Pockets podcasts, like anything that I could soak up. I was obsessed with it. So once I got here, I kind of realized that I was living paycheck to paycheck, and that I didn't have enough extra income to save to invest in real estate. And so that's a big reason why I got into real estate. I was looking for a side thing while I was still in the Army, to where I could save up some money, make some extra cash, and be able to invest in real estate, whatever that looked like, whether it was flipping or whatever. So then I got my license in 2018, and I just realized, I have a knack for this. I knew a lot about real estate to begin with, just from soaking up the knowledge. And then I just had a really good knack of leading people throughout the transaction, whether you're buying or selling, and navigating that whole process. And it was just a natural career for me that I just kind of stumbled into.
Yeah. So I want to take a step back first. And I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say this again. Thank you for your service, man.
For sure.
I mean, personally, I'm honored to be working with somebody that was able to put their life on the line for our country. So thank you for that.
Appreciate that.
Platoon leader, 26 soldiers, you said?
It was about 28.
26, so 28 soldiers. Okay. I guess I just want to learn more about your experience getting into the Army. Too. Okay, so you got into the Army. First off, I almost want to ask why, but less about why, but more of how. What was your mindset of, hey, I want to get into the Army, and then how did you become that platoon leader, right? To where you're able to, I guess, manage 28 soldiers. And talk to me the experience, right? Because I'll tell you right now, most of my audience, they don't know what it's like to be in the Army, sign up, go through that process. Let's talk a little bit about that, if you're okay with that, if you're open to that.
Yeah, there's a few different ways to go into the military. Most people obviously enlist. I was not enlisted. I was a commissioned officer. Oh, wow. I went to the United States Military Academy at Westpoint. I played football there. I got recruited to play football. Wow. So whenever you graduate, you owe 5 years of service from the military academy. Okay. So I went there. I got recruited to play football there. They have play Division I football there. They have a Division I program.
No way. I got to play. What position did you play?
Corner and safety.
Corner and safety. So I played strong safety for 8 years.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So, I got to play at a high level, which was a dream come true for me. Yeah. And, so once obviously whenever I chose to go to West Point, I knew on the other side of it was 5 years of commitment. Yep. So I graduated in 2017. I commissioned as a second lieutenant. And typically it's, when you go into, when you're an officer in the Army, I can't speak for the Air Force or Navy or any other branch of service, but in the Army, typically you become a platoon leader where you lead soldiers. You have a platoon. That's the first key position as an officer in the Army, is to be a platoon leader. So that was just my first position. They kind of throw you into the fire to lead soldiers. And that was my first assignment.
Wow. Yeah. So what did you do specifically when you're there? Do you I know you have to go through your basic training, right? You go through basic training, you do all that, but what did the day-to-day look like when it came to being in the Army?
Every day you wake up, you have PT, usually around formations usually around 6:15, 6:30.
Okay.
And so, physical training, basically working out.
So what is for people that don't know, what's PT stand for?
Physical training.
Physical, okay.
Yeah. So physical training. So, I mean, just essentially working out.
Cool.
And whether it's group led or individual, you have to show up for formation and accountability almost every morning. And then the workday, once you're done with PT, the workday usually started around 9:30, depending on your unit. And it really didn't end until, I want to say, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, PM. So, I mean, you're there every day. As a platoon leader and as an officer, things change. Like, your day-to-day is a little different. Yep. You wear many different hats in the military. There are different jobs and responsibilities that gets passed down to your unit that you have to, the leaders within a company have to perform.
Yep.
And so it just kind of depends, really. There's like no set day-to-day. You're there, you're kind of just, whether it's planning for training in the future, conducting training, or even if it's just, making sure that the soldiers are doing their everyday jobs, and roles and responsibilities. That's for, at least for me, that's kind of how it was. It was like every day was different.
Yeah.
And for the most part, a lot of the time I was present in the unit and just making sure that everything was going as smoothly as I can if I wasn't planning or doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool. I can see you leading like a massive team, man. You know what I mean? like even on even on the real estate side.
Yeah.
Like running your own branch, like to have that kind of discipline, I think is what majority of Americans lack today. Mm-hmm. Most people are lazy. Most people are unfortunately entitled, right? Mm-hmm. But on a macro scale, having the ability to get up, okay, I'm going to be leading, X amount of soldiers. My day is going to change day to day. There's things that need to be done. Yeah. And I know that best way to lead is to lead by example. Yeah. Right. So you show up, you're there earlier than everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming you got a lot of that discipline playing football. Yeah. Right. Playing football. Yeah. So which is a big deal. Like, sure. I played through elementary school, middle school, high school, and then I had L4, L5, L5, S1 disc bulge. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to go to UCLA, right? Okay. So that was like my thing, and I want to say pretty good until I got too cocky in the gym, right? Deadlifting. So that was the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But you get that, I'm sure you got a lot of that discipline and that training and that mindset playing football. Then you went in, and then the Army just completely, got you sharp as a sword, and then you get into the real estate market, and now you're crushing it. Yeah, I mean, I've been a lifelong athlete. Sports was my life growing up. Yeah, I played 3 sports growing up. 4 in high school. Had 12 letters in high school. Nice. Football, baseball, wrestling, and then my senior year, I ran track instead of playing baseball. And obviously, I had multiple Division I opportunities for football. I had multiple Division I opportunities for baseball. Yeah, I had some smaller schools for wrestling. And so, I mean, you don't get to that level without a lot of hard work, and not that I went to like a high level, but I mean, just in general, just, you don't get opportunities like that without a lot of hard work and discipline and dedication. And so, it just carried over into college, and, at Westpoint, Westpoint was, incredibly challenging academically, physically, mentally, for 4 years plus 1 year at prep school. And then by the time I got to the Army, honestly, I don't want to say the Army was easy, because it's not, but it was, in comparison to what I went through and how much I had on my plate at West Point, it was easy. Yeah. And I honestly think that, like, in terms of what I have going on today in real estate as an agent, investor, and everything else that I'm doing, obviously with as a husband and father as well, that I feel more overwhelmed and feel like I have more on my plate now than I did when I was at West Point or any other time in my life, to be honest with you. Yeah. So, the responsibility levels when you're a father, right? Because you have kids, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But how many kids do you have? I have 2 daughters. Two daughters. Mm-hmm. Cool. So I have 2 boys and a baby girl. Okay. Responsibility when it's like, hey, you have kids, and now it's not just all about you or just about you and your spouse, but it's now it's you, your wife, and your kids. Yeah. That, you want to make sure you're able to create the best version of life for them, or at least a better version than what you had. For sure. Right. Which is a big deal. Now, sports, I think people that played that are athletes that play sports, and then they get into a business like ours, whether it's real estate, mortgage, insurance, Brokers, right? I feel like those are oftentimes the most successful people because they're able to build those habits or bring those habits along into the real estate world.
Yeah,
right? Like
100%.
I played football, and then after I messed up my back, the one thing that saved me was Thai boxing. So I did that for years because it required a lot of stretching. It required like a lot of different techniques, this, that, and that in itself helped me get out of, without needing to go and get surgery, which every doctor was like, hey, you have to go get surgery. This and that. Yeah. My mom was against it. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just going to go to physical therapy, did that. Then I got into Thai boxing, and a lot of those stretches that they do before you have to go and do like a smoker match or this or that, like for some reason that just kind of like shifted my back into place.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, and that in itself was like a huge blessing for me.
Yeah.
But how did you meet your wife? Because you were there and then you got into real estate. How did you meet your wife? And on top of that, was it before or after you got into the real estate business?
Yeah, so it was after I got into real estate.
After, okay.
Not even a whole year. I was actually in the Army still because I started doing real estate while I was in the Army.
Okay. So how did you hear about real estate too? I want to know that. Like, you're in the Army, like what brought on, I want to become a realtor? Right?
I never really wanted to become a realtor.
Okay.
That wasn't like my goal. I just wanted to be a real estate investor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I read a few books in college that kind of turned me onto it. And that's whenever I got like really into real estate investing. Cool. It wasn't until I got here and I realized I didn't have any extra money to invest that somebody gave me the idea to become an agent because they were like, hey, I think you'd be good at this. And did some research on it. And I was like, you know what? It's worth a shot. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I lose a few grand from getting my license. Yeah. Right. And it turned into the exact opposite. It was like, oh no, I built an entire business that completely changed my life.
Yeah. Huge blessing. And then you met your wife as you're in the Army, you said.
So I got medically retired from the military in 2019, at the end of 2019. So, and I'd met my wife just through mutual friends. Cool. And, after knowing her for a few months, we started dating right as like I was about to like get out from the military. And I was starting to really pick up with real estate, and I was making that transition to full-time in real estate. And so 2020 was my first full year of real estate without the military.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got in a tough year. So you got in when rates went down to like, it's COVID, right? 2020. So
yeah.
Rates
2019, I was licensed I did 29 sales while I was in the Army in 2019. Wow. Yeah. So I was still like, I was basically, working 2 jobs while I was in the Army because I was really cool. I was working real estate full time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most people don't even hit 10 sales or 5 sales their first year. So that's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So have you been at Compass this whole time?
No. I was recruited to Compass in 2021. Okay. Yeah, so this is coming up on year 3 of me at Compass.
3. Cool.
Yeah.
And where were you before?
I started off at Century 21. That only lasted about 9-10 months, and then I went over to Windermere for about 2 years.
2 years at Windermere. Okay. Okay. And then, so how did you get recruited to Compass?
Compass, they recruit, to be honest, and especially during that time, they were like doing a rapid expansion in the Seattle area. Yep. They had a lot of recruiters and bringing on a lot of agents across the country, but especially in the Seattle area. And they had just opened the Tacoma office. And obviously, like me living in Tacoma and doing most of my sales in Tacoma, I do some in King County, Snohomish County, but most of my business has been Pearson Thurston. Perfect. But they just reached out to me, and I turned them down a couple times, and then one day I just picked up the phone and I was like, "Hey, what do you got?" Yeah. And then I turned them down again after that process, and we had another conversation, and then finally I was like, "Okay, I think this actually might be the best jump for me," because they had like financial incentives at the time, and I actually turned it down because I didn't want to feel as though I was going over there for the money that they were offering me. I wanted to make sure that it was a good fit, and so that's why I turned it down, because I was kind of like skeptical. But the more I really weighed out pros and cons, thought through a lot of different things, I realized like, okay, I think this actually is a really good opportunity for me, and to grow my business and to network and be surrounded by the top real estate professionals in the industry. Yep. And I fully believe that, and I can honestly say it's been more than worth it since I've made the jump.
Cool.
Yeah.
Incredible. Did you come over with 1 or 2 realtors, or did you start building your team because you're a team leader for realtors, right?
Yeah.
Did you start building that at Compass?
So no, I started my team when I was at Windermere earlier in
cool.
2021 as well. So I had a lot of changes that year. I brought over everybody who was with me at the time. Well, one decided to go in a separate direction. So it was me, I had an assistant at the time, and then one buyer's agent.
Cool.
And then in 2022, I brought on another agent. I made some changes to my admin side of my business the last couple of years. And then 2023, I brought on two more agents. Well, three technically, because my wife got her license and joined my team.
Cool.
And so and that's kind of where we're at right now. I don't have like a whole lot of ambition to grow a big team at the moment.
Okay.
I really like where we are. I like being able to be reachable and manageable and not feel like I'm managing a brokerage.
Yeah.
That we're like more of like a tight knit, good relationship team, and that we got a good thing going. That's kind of where I feel that we're at right now. And so that's kind of where I want to stay for the time being. I mean, I can't speak for the next like few years, but at least, well, I can't speak where I'm going to be in like a few years in the future. But as of right now, like I have a lot of personal sales that I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't done less than 60 personal transactions since 2020. So, you know, that in conjunction with everything I do on the investment side, I kind of want to just like stay put, you know, and just continue to grow with what we have.
Yeah. Yeah. No, what I love about just even talking to you is I can just feel this, right? You're, I want to say compendious with how you want your business to be set up and structure, and you know where you're going. Like you have your goal set. You're like, hey, I don't want a big team. Right. Or I don't want to have a huge brokerage of 30 agents or 40 agents.
Yeah.
I like what I'm doing. I may need to do a few tweaks operationally, but as of right now, right, I know exactly where it's at. You have clarity.
Yeah, for sure.
Gervon, you have clarity, which there's not a lot of clarity in our business, man. I'll tell you. I mean, you see this too, right? So congrats for that.
Appreciate it.
And having, that's, like I said, having guys like you on, I think is fantastic.
For
Talk
sure.
to me about your business. How did you grow to where, from a business standpoint, if you were to sit down with a brand new realtor, right? Or you were to sit down with, brand new realtor, somebody that's in the business, and you're like, hey, look, you know, I do upwards of 60 transactions a year plus, and this is what I built. But if you were to only focus on your business today, let's say you went into a brand new city, you didn't know too many people, like what do you do to get into the position to where you're at right now?
Yeah. Man, I had a lot of just divine timing. You know, I think God just has a way of putting people in position where they're supposed to be. And I just was fortunate. I was fortunate enough to be in that position, you know. I really tapped into our alumni network. Like I said, it's United States Military Academy at Westpoint. We graduate 1,000 officers a year. Wow. And so I really just kind of tapped into my network and my alumni database and like made myself available, marketed to them directly, made sure that, you know, people who knew who I was, what I was doing, what I was capable of, as an agent, as an investor, as just a resource in an area. And it's been awesome. I've been able to just really connect with a lot of people that went to Westpoint, and we share a very unique experience at Westpoint. Like we just do. There's a lot of similarities and things that, like, even if I didn't cross paths with somebody who went to school with me, we still had a lot of similarities to where we can connect on. And we also have that, like, a certain level of, like, a base level of trust that we have. And I just really, you know, make sure that, like, I am an expert within my field, that I take care of my clients, that I have great customer service, and allow my reputation to precede me in a way to where I can, like, also live up to it and position myself to be the go-to guy, right, within my network and my sphere of influence. And so anybody who's, like, thinking about getting into real estate, I would just say, like, you know, identify who your core sphere of influence, who your core network is, focus on growing it, focus on networking, focus on, you know, just putting your name out there and being top of mind. For the second anybody thinks real estate, they think your name, you know, and that's what I strive to be. You know, and especially, like, it goes hand in hand with the investment. Like, when I've flipped over 15 houses. I have rental properties. I have, I'm doing new construction development as we speak. All of those are things that the average person, they may want to do, but they aren't doing. And to be able to have that firsthand experience of how to do it, and be like, hey, I'll help you do it too.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that goes hand in hand with a lot of people, and a lot of people respect and trust that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Having the ability, just like what I'm hearing is just having the ability to add massive value to your sphere, to your network, right? So whoever and everyone that knows who you are, you're a resource, but you're also adding a tremendous amount of value, more than anyone else in the market.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that is awesome.
Yeah.
Talk to me about a little bit about your process when it comes to working with a very first time, let's say somebody buying their first home or a first time investor. Like, what does that look like with you and your team?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a first-time home buyer, the first thing I'm going to do is probably set up a time for a consultation to walk you through the home buying process, talk you through expectations, financially, and in terms of like how the process works and different steps to take. So that's number one. You know, obviously connecting them to a lender and trying to get them to figure out where they are financially is a big deal. You know, figuring out the budget and the financials, that's a huge part, because you want to at least have an idea of where you're going to look financially, and then also like talk through criteria and stuff like that. And I spend a lot of time going through the process of making sure that they understand the different parts so that they're prepared whenever the time comes to be able to you know, find a home, or whenever they find a home that they can jump on an opportunity. Yeah. Especially if they think it's the home for them. Yeah. And so that's one thing. I mean, and it goes very similarly when it comes to the investment side. You know, depending on what somebody wants to do. If you want to buy a fix and flip, you know, what does that look like? If you want to buy, you know, a second home, turn your first one into a rental, what does that look like? If you want to go new construction, that's a whole different beast. But, you know, I can talk to you about what that looks like too, you know? Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because when I connect with, because I work with, of course, you know, average first-time home buyer. I work with move-up clients, move-down clients, but I do work with a lot of investors, right? So oftentimes when I sit down with investors, we go over numbers. I like to ask them, hey, what's your goal here? If you're a first-time investor, are you looking for appreciation or are you looking for cash flow, right? You and I know it's really tough to cash flow here in Washington State unless you're putting a ton of capital down, right? Or you have a property already that's an investment. You need to do a 1031 tax exchange, which simply means that you're not paying taxes after the sale of the home. You're simply rolling all that equity, but you have like 6 months to roll it into your next deal. So I work with a lot of investors, and especially newer investors, and I'll ask them, hey, what's your plan here for your, you know, are you going, hey, you know, again, cash flow, or are you going appreciation? So figuring that out, I think up front is huge, because now I know, okay, we're going to be looking for a triplex or fourplex or duplex, or we're going to be looking for a single family. Maybe it could be a single family that needs to be fully rehabbed. So maybe you're breaking even, or you're paying a little extra on top, but you're able to capitalize on that massive appreciation. Right. Talk to me about, like, you've done flips, right? What does that process look like?
Oh man. It just depends.
I know I'm going a little bit all over the place, but I want to hear your thoughts. I work with a few people that flip. I flipped homes before, had rentals. But what does that look like for you? Like on the flip side, like what do you look for?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it has to be a good deal. I mean, it's kind of.
Do you talk to wholesalers?
Yeah, I work with wholesalers all the time. I mean, it's a necessity. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but it's a necessity. To work with wholesalers, because they're the ones who are the deal finders, you know. So I mean, for me, I just look at, you know, is it a good deal? Is it something I'm comfortable with? Is the after repair value what the home is going to be worth when it's all said and done? One, does it have enough margin? You know, is there enough room in the purchase price, the rehab, the lender, hard money loan fees, all that stuff, that whenever I go sell it, that's going to be profitable, and enough margin for error to where if I do make a mistake in some way, shape, or form, or the budget increases or something happens, which is almost inevitable in every single flip, to where like I can eat that cost and still walk away and be fine. Right. And so that's the first thing. The other thing I like to do is I don't really like to go too far over the median price or the average price for an area. You know, if the average price is $550, I'm not really gonna try to look for a $750,000, $800,000 flip. You know, because that means the buyer pool is really restricted for that area. So I try to be a little strategic in that sense as well. You know, like I just picked up one. It's gonna be I'm gonna list it around $500,000, and I think it's worth a little bit more, but at 500,000, I'm very comfortable. And, you know, if it goes over asking price, which I think it's worth more, you know, then we'll be in good shape. So
how much you pick it up for?
350.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
okay.
It only needs about $40,000 worth of work.
Excellent.
Yeah,
that's what I call a good flip. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, it's one of the better ones, you know, and it was one of those things actually, like it was brought to me and I was like, no, this isn't going to work because it was at a higher price.
Yeah.
Then, fast forward to about last week, this is like in the end of April.
Yeah.
Fast forward to about last week, you know, the guy calls me and was like, hey, what number would you do it for? And I was like, 350.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't think it's going to work, but let me call the seller.
Yeah.
Dude, like 15 minutes later, he's like, are you ready to sign an assignment? I said, at 350, yeah.
Yeah.
So it ended up being like 352, but still, I took it. I was like,
excellent.
That's a no-brainer, you know,
Yeah.
because I had walked it. We had an inspection on it. Like we'd done a lot of stuff for it. So,
nice.
yeah, long story short, that's one of the ones I'm working on right now. I have another one in Lakewood that we're wrapping up in the next 2 weeks. And then I have another one I'm closing on with a partner in a couple weeks as well.
Beautiful.
So,
and I think that's the beauty of real estate is there's so many avenues where you can make money, right? You have the conventional route of helping families, which I think is the best route, helping people with the largest financial decision of their life. But then opportunities arise. Opportunities arise with wholesalers, people that door knock and try to find off-market deals, and you connect with them, and they send you deals, and you're able to flip homes, put them into better condition. I wish there were more flippers in our market. I know there's a lot already, but why do I say that? When somebody takes a home that's like a 1982 or 1985 and rehab the entire house and resell it, all they're doing is they're making the community better.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's going to be a cost to that. You're going to have to spend money to rehab. You're going to pay a little extra when you buy the home after the rehab. But most families don't have the financial means to go out and turn that home into something more beautiful, into something that's more appealing to the eye, right? So I'm a huge believer in doing whatever you can do to increase the value of your community. And it's going to be more pleasing to look at. It's a better home. It's just going to be better for everybody, right? Absolutely. Yes, it's a bit more expensive. I personally think it's better for somebody to go out and pay a mortgage of $800 or $1,000 more a month, but be in a fully renovated house and have to focus on, okay, how do I increase the value that I'm adding to the market and then make more money, right? And improve themselves versus buying a home for, let's say $350 and having $1,000 less in mortgage payments, but you're quote unquote comfortable with the payment, and things are going to break, things are going to pop up, you're going to have to fix this or that, and you're not living at a higher standard. You're living in a place that's not just older, but you can't rehab it, but your lifestyle is just a little bit worse, right? For sure. Just because it's like, hey, the carpets or the flooring's damaged or the kitchen is old. It's just the sense of value that you have when you're in a place that's a little bit nicer, a little bit more renovated. It forces you, and I believe it personally, it subconsciously pushes you to become a better human being, especially if you have a higher payment and you're like, hey, I got to make more money. So it's either I got to downsize or I got to find a way to add more value to the market, or I got to go and get a new job. And what does that do? That elevates the entire community, right? That elevates cities, states, countries, right? Like that for me, I think is I'm a huge believer in that. I think that's great. People should absolutely go out, find homes that, if you're an investor, find homes that you can flip and help out. But if you're like, hey, I just don't have the bandwidth to do so, think about why you don't have that bandwidth, right? Connect with people like Gervon, connect with people like you, and say, hey, if I were to go and find a place for myself, because that's always been like my thing. My first home that we purchased was in Auburn, and we got it. It was a decent house, but we ended up renovating the whole thing. So I flipped it and I moved to Maple Valley, Hobart area. So more like Issaquah, Hobart, but so we're technically a Maple Valley address. So we're in that location. And that home also we purchased. It was a very old home. I had to go hard money on the deal because they said it wasn't financeable. Had to gut the home completely, gut it to the studs, man. installation, sheetrock, electrical, plumbing, PEX plumbing, like everything, the bathrooms, the kitchen, everything had to be gutted.
Yeah.
Completely rehab that home. But I love looking for homes that are older and saying, okay, if I got this and I fully rehabbed, how much equity am I going to have? But also, would I be able to live in that home?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So if somebody doesn't have the bandwidth to purchase a home that's a little bit in better condition, I always say, okay, think about why and connect with people that do have that bandwidth and see if you can put yourself into that position.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think is huge.
Exactly.
I think is huge.
Yeah.
This was great, by the way.
Sure.
Like talking to you, learning more about you.
Yeah.
I guess the last question that I always like to ask is, because I know you talked a little bit about you like where you're at today. If there were 2 or 3 things that you would want to see in the next 5 years, either when it comes to real estate or either if it comes to your personal business, like from a growth standpoint, right? What would you want to, I want to say, accomplish, achieve, or where would you want to, I want to say be in the next 3 to 5 years? Because I know financially, I mean, you're set, right? More than most, but you're striving towards a goal. You know what you're doing. You're on that side. You're adding that value, which is great. But from like a leadership standpoint, team standpoint, father standpoint, like where do you see yourself and what's your goal?
Oh man, it's kind of hard to say.
It's a very broad question.
Very broad. I mean, I think generally, you know, I definitely want to increase my passive income a little bit. It's something that I wouldn't say I neglected or put to the wayside, but I stopped focusing on growing it. And that's something that as my kids are getting older, I'm starting to like kind of see around the corner, like, okay, I need to pick this up a little bit and start to make that my focus. So that's the part I talked about, new construction and me doing a couple new construction projects. I'm building 3 units to add to my personal portfolio right now. So, you know, that's a big part of that. It's not the cheapest route, but it's a really, really good opportunity for me. So just overall have more passive income, to be able to take a step back from sales. I'm going a little crazy right now, just in terms of like the amount of transactions I'm doing and how many different ways I'm getting pulled. So just having the ability to be able to maybe, what's it called? Dish out. There's another word for it. Outsource. Delegate. So I can be able to delegate a little bit more, and so improve my systems within my team so that I can have a little bit more free time. Because I've been working quite a bit, and as my daughter is getting older, my oldest daughter is getting older, and my youngest one's coming along. She's just 2 years behind. She's gonna start, you know, sports and different programs in school and all that stuff. So I want to be able to really be there and be present for her. So passive income, have better systems in place. Not that they're bad now, just have a little bit better systems in place. And then, just be able to just really be in complete control of my time. You know, I think that's something that gets lost. I'm reading a book called The Psychology of Money right now. I'm almost done with it.
Great book,
And it's a great book, and I encourage anybody to read it. And you know what people forget that money is supposed to do is supposed to buy us time. You know, in terms of us being able to do whatever it is that we want to do with our time. You know, I really am passionate about helping people. So I don't think I'm going to stop being an agent and trying to educate people on how to grow wealth within real estate, because it's changed my life, and I know it can change others as well. And I've helped people attain goals, financial and real estate goals. And so I'm not going to stop doing it per se, but I definitely want to be able to take a step back and not feel bad for it, or be able to take a step back and know that I'm not neglecting somebody else's home buying or home selling journey. Because like I said, I'm a little spread thin at the moment, but you know, as time goes on.
It's a good problem to have, man.
There's
a lot of people that aren't doing business right now, and they wish they were there, but that's a great problem to have.
I'm blessed, man. I really am.
God is good. God is good. I know you love the Lord. You know that I'm also a Christian. I love Jesus. I guess let's close with this. You mentioned that God put you in the right place at the right time.
For sure.
I'll tell you this, that without Christ, I would not be where I'm at today. Right. God's impacted my life. I found my wife at church. We got connected through church. The amount of my life would just not be where it's at right now without not just the blessings of God, but also I want to say God reprimanding me, right? And going, hey, this is who you need to be as my child. This is what my expectations are. As you are set at a higher standard. You cannot do X, Y, and Z because these are my standards, right? Same thing. Like I heard this analogy. I loved it. It's the same thing as if, like, let's say I go to the park, right? And the Lord goes, hey, kiddo, go play with the kids. You're playing with the kids. You're having a good time, blah, blah, blah. And you come home. I play at the park all day. And then I come home. And then let's say I curse or I say something mean or rude. The father goes, whoa. Where'd you hear that? Oh, I heard somebody say that on the playground. Like, okay, they said that, but that's not who you are. Yeah. My standard for you is higher. In my home, this is how we speak. In my home, we do not do X, Y, and Z because this is who we are, right? This is our identity, right? So I know that without Christ, without God, I would be a completely different person. For sure. And I would not be in the position to where I'm at today. Yeah. Give me like a little testimony, brother.
Oh man. I mean, I grew up in a Christian household, a Christian family. Yeah. So, but I just know that, I look back on my life and all the events and things that have occurred. Yeah. I just know that, I wouldn't be who I am and things wouldn't have happened, if it wasn't for God and having his plan for me and me being faithful enough to follow it. Yeah. And not trying to always go my own route. Yeah. And so, I mean, I had some opposition to me going to Westpoint. I could have gone to other schools. I had other opportunities. I could have opted for some different choices when it came to recruiting and maybe even going to a prep school to get recruited. But instead, I chose to go to Westpoint. And looking back on that, that was something that I had a lot of opportunities that I felt blocked by God on purpose for me to go there. Yeah. And then it ended up me being able to graduate and go into the Army, be an Army officer. I would have never gone to the military if it wasn't for me going to West Point or any of the service academies. And then when I got here, for me to basically, within, and I think it was 4 or 5 months, or within 6 months, get knee surgery and, the med board process starting in under a year. But I had just run into the idea of me being an agent. And like the same month that my med board process started, was my very first month where I had 6 closings in 1 month when I was in the Army. And so I was on my way out. And, my med board started in April of 2019, up until April of 2019. Yeah. I'd sold 3 houses that year in 2019 I ended the year at 29. Wow. So, and then for me to go into 2020 and then sell 61 as a solo agent with no team, I wasn't paying for leads. I wasn't doing any, investing any money like that. It was just like almost strictly referral based. Yeah. It just, you can't tell me that, that this wasn't God's plan for me. Yeah. And a few other things have happened since then. And I'm just like, just a little bit of a, brief history of my life of like, hey, here are some evident things that are clearly divine, and there's nothing that I could have ever done to prepare or predict or try to, accomplish it. It happened because that was a part of his plan.
Yeah, I love it. Dude, this was great, man. Yeah, this was great. What I want to do is we got to have you on again, first off. And I want to have a whole conversation on leadership. Okay. I think that's something to where you have more expertise than most, leading, people in the Army, and leading soldiers and leading a team and building a team. Being a father, you have to be an incredible leader, right? Even though sometimes they won't listen, you'll say one thing and it's just, especially with the younger kids. Yeah. But I want to do a whole podcast with you on leadership. I think that's going to be killer, man. I think it's going to be awesome. Dope. Let's do it. Thank you for coming on. Everyone, thank you for listening. If you're looking to purchase a home, anything to do with real estate in Pierce County, you work in King and Snohomish as well, as you mentioned a little Thurston, bit. And Thurston, Tacoma area, that entire section of South King, Pierce, Thurston County. Reach out to Gervon. We'll have his contact below. Any questions at all, give him a call. Thank you for listening. Gervon, thank you for coming on board.
Thanks for having me.
And then we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.